Yo, 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 yo. Hey guys, here we go. Slope intercept form. So this is a big topic. This is one that everything we learn in this section is stuff that we're going to be using throughout the whole school year pretty much. And we're always going to come back to slope intercept form. We're always going to come back to slope or y-intercept. So this is one of those things where super important, and let's put some stars next to it. So let's just get into it now because this is going to be a lot of information. So slope intercept form, it's an equation written in this format, y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. So make sure we write that super big. Y equals mx plus b. Needs to be big. Okay? And each part of this equation, I know you're like, this is all variables, but this is a formula. Okay, so what we're going to do is we fill in certain parts of the equation, which what we know. So the m of the formula represents the slope. And this b right here, that's a b, not a 6. The b represents the y-intercept. We'll get into what those are, but those are the only two pieces that we need to know. The x and the y are an ordered pair on a line. So here's what slope intercept form is. So once we have this all written down, because it's super important. Once we have all this written down, what slope intercept form is what we use to graph linear equations. Now, a linear equation is an equation that when I graph it, it makes some type of a straight line on a coordinate plane. Okay, so a linear equation makes a straight line. So we use this form in order to graph lines. So this is how we graph lines onto coordinate planes. The two pieces of information we always need to know is the slope and the y-intercept. The y and the x actually stays as y and x. So an example of an equation in slope-intercept form would be something like y equals 2x plus 5. The slope is 2, the y-intercept is 5. And then we keep the y and the x because y and x just represent all the ordered pairs that are on that particular line. And I'll show you what that means in a little bit. Okay. The y-intercept. So this is the equation of how we graph a line. And we use it by using the slope and the y-intercept. Where the y-intercept is the y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. So let's say again, here's my coordinate plane. This is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So wherever this is, because this is my y values, whatever this is, that would be my y-intercept. The slope is the steepness of the graph. It's how steep the line is. And we have talked about slope before, but it's how steep the line is. Okay, so that's why they call the ski slopes the slopes, because they all have different steepness. Like a super steep ski slope is known as like a black diamond. And then when it's not so steep, it might be a blue square. And then they can figure that out by using this formula right here. So the slope formula is as is right here. For m, we have rise over run. And really what we do is we take our y's, we subtract, divided by our x's, and we subtract. So we take 2 points. So that's why it's y2 minus y1. If we need to write off to the side here. So you might have an ordered pair here. So that's x1, y1. And you might also have another ordered pair of x2 and y2. And then we would use these 2 points into this formula in order to subtract. So this is taking your second point and subtracting your first point, your x's and your y's. So this is a lot of info, but let's just start putting it into use so we can see what it exactly is that I'm talking about. So first, what we want to do is we're going to learn how to graph these from slope-intercept form. So right here, I have my first problem is what is the graph of y equals 4 over 5x plus 2? So when we graph lines in slope-intercept form, step 1, and we can actually write these down if you want to off to the side, because I think that'll definitely help. So step 1, start at y-intercept. I'm going to put I'm going to abbreviate intercept. So that's for step 1. So here, my slope is 4/5 because that's the value that's attached to the x here. My y-intercept is 2 because that's the constant. So slope-intercept form, whatever's attached to the x is always your slope. Whatever is a constant that is not attached to the variable is always your y-intercept. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is 2. So that's 1, 2. That's wherever the line crosses the y-axis. So here's my y-axis at 2. That's a point on this line. So that's why I'm going to draw a dot here for a point. Now from this point, I'm actually going to use my slope as of 4/5 to find my next point. So the way we use our slope is, as we mentioned it before, slope is rise over run. So slope is rise over run, which means this number is how much we rise, this number is how much we run. So because my rise is 4, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went up 4 on my rise. And then I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there is my line. And it's going to keep going at that steepness. And it does go in both directions. What I did is I just zoomed in on this part of the graph for this equation so we can have a nice easy example. But this will go on forever in both directions. Okay, so it does continue this way as well. And it continues this way as well. But I need 2 points minimum to graph that line. So I went up 4 and then I went over 5 in the positive direction. Positive 4, which is up 4, right is 5, is positive. I went up 4 over 5 because my rise over my run is 4 over 5. So step 2 for graphing a line, we start at the y-intercept. Step 2 is use slope. Whoa. I don't know why it does that. Use slope, which is rise over run, to find next point. So I started my y-intercept, went up 4 over 5, there's my next point, and now I have a line. And that is the equation of this line. Now the y and the x are all the points on this line. So for example, like for when my y-intercept, for example, x is this coordinate right here is 0, 2. X is 0, y is 2. X is always 0 for the y-intercepts because that's the y-axis. Well, if I plug in 0 and 2 here, it should actually be an equal equation. That should work out for this equation. So if I do 4/5 times 0 plus 2, well, that's 0. So I get 2, and we said my y should have been 2, so that worked out. My y equals 2. So when I plug in 0 for x, y is 2. Same thing with this point. So this point right here is at 6, 5. If I plug those in, that would have also been a true statement. So that's what the x's and y's, they just represent any point that is on the line. So that's how we graph from slope-intercept form. We started our y-intercept, and then we use slope, the rise over the run, to find our next point. We'll get into negatives a little bit later on what like a negative slope would look like. So positive slope is always going uphill from left to right. So notice how we're going uphill from left to right instead of downhill. So positive always goes uphill, negative always goes downhill. All right. So now we also want to write equations. We want to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept when we're looking at a graph. So when we write the equation, it's doing the same thing. We want to figure out what the y-intercept is, and then we want to figure out what the slope is. So here's my line. Right away, I know it has a negative slope because this is an example of going downhill from left to right. Think about it. You read a book from left to right, so we read our lines from left to right. So from left to right, we're going down. That's a negative slope. So I know my equation has to be y equals mx plus b. So I know it's going to be y. I know this x is just here. So I've got to figure out what my slope is, and I've got to figure out what my y-intercept is. So my y-intercept was whenever it crosses the y-axis, which is at 1. So that's just plus 1. Now I've got to figure out what my slope is. So this is where we pick 2 perfect points on the line, and then we figure out what the rise and the run is. So this one's already been kind of mapped out for you, but we'll still talk about it. So from here to here, the rise is down 3. I always like to go left to right if I can. Okay, I always like to go from left to right if I can. So I'm going down 3, so that's a negative rise of 3, because down is in the negative direction, but right is still in the positive direction. Over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's down 3, positive 4. So it has a slope of negative 3/4. Because if just the numerator is negative and not the denominator, negative divided by positive is always negative, so the whole slope is just negative 3/4. So there's my equation. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 1, and I missed my target there. Here we go. Let's make it a little bit. There we go. I'm done. You might have to find the equation of a line that passes through 2 points without even looking at a graph. So first what we need to do, so this is where it can get a little bit tricky, but not too tricky. So here's what we can do. So first, I know I need the slope and I know I need the y-intercept. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to find the slope, because I can find the slope of 2 points by doing that formula we talked about, which is take your y's and subtract them, take your x's and subtract them. The biggest thing is that you take these are the same point right here. So that's why we had those 2's to show, like, if you're using the second point, like if this is x2, then this has to be y2. So I'm going to subtract my y's. So 4 minus negative 2, because that is a negative. So I am subtracting a negative 2. And then that'd be 3 minus negative 1. So I took my y2, my x2, I put those first. That's an ordered pair. This is an ordered pair, and we subtract those values. So now I have double negatives. So that becomes 6, double negatives. That becomes 4. So the slope's 6/4, but we do want to simplify because it makes graphing a lot easier, so we don't have to go over so far. So simplifying is really nice. So my m is 3/2. So I figured out my slope. Now I still have to figure out my y-intercept. So what we can do here to find the y-intercept is, now we mentioned that y and x represent ordered pairs that are on the line. Well, what we can do is I can take any one of these ordered pairs, because these are 2 points that are on the line, and I can plug it in for y and x, and then I just solve my equation for b, because that's my y-intercept. And you can pick either point. You're going to get the same answer no matter what. So I'm going to pick the positive numbers because I like those. So I'm going to pick x is 3 and y is 4, and I'm going to substitute this point in for x and for y. So the y is 4, 3/2 times my x, which is 3, plus b. And now I get to solve my equation for b. So let's do that. This is like 3/1. 3 times 3 is 9/2 plus b equals 4. So then I'll subtract 9/2, which is really 4.5. So I'm just going to rewrite that as 4.5 right now. So it's going to make it a little bit easier. 4 minus 4.5 is negative 0.5 equals b. So my slope is negative 1/2. So I'm sorry, not my slope. My y-intercept is negative 1/2. So my final equation is y equals 3/2x minus, you could put 0.5, or you could have also put a fraction of 1/2. And that's my final equation. Notice how I just put minus 1/2. You don't need to put plus negative. Minus 1/2 means that the slope's just negative 1/2. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. We'll do one together. Again, we're going to practice sketching these graphs. And then I want you to try a couple on your own. Okay, so we'll work on one together, because now from here, we're just going to start practicing. Okay, so for this first one here, we have to sketch our graph. So I have a slope. Let's see, there's no number in front of the x. So I always want to figure out, what's my slope, what's my y-intercept? Well, my y-intercept is 3. My slope, there's nothing here, but when there's nothing there, that's just a 1. So let's draw an ordered coordinate plane first. Boing. We'll just do a normal one on this one. So there's my coordinate plane. And I'm going to start at 3. My y-intercept, 1, 2, 3. That's positive 3. And my slope is positive 1. So that's just 1/1. So That means I'm going to go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. If I go down 1, I can go to the left 1, down to the left, down to the left, because negative and a negative really makes a positive. So there's my slope. I'm going to do this because I can't draw a straight line if I don't. I mean, there's my line, not my slope. There's my line. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I would like you to pause the video and try graphing both of these, and let's see how you do. Okay, so negative 5x plus 1. Well, my y-intercept is positive 1, so I'm going to start here at 1. And then my slope is negative 5. So instead of going up, I'm just going to go down. So I'm going to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then over 1. Because my slope was negative 5, so that's rise over run. So that's negative 5 over 1. So I went down 5 over 1. I would also go down 5 again and over 1. Now, that's going to give me a line that looks like that. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's close enough. So I have a negative slope because I'm going downhill. Okay, and then finally the last one, 2/3 x minus 5. My y-intercept is negative 5, so I'm going to start at 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5 here on the y-axis. Rise over run is 2/3. This is why we like to use fractions, improper fractions, and regular fractions instead of decimals, because it gives you your rise and your run. I'm going to go up 2 over 1, 2, 3. Up 2, 1, 2 over 1, 2, 3. And there we have it. There's my line. Positive slope because it's going uphill. All right. Now what you'll also have to do is you will also have to write the equation of a line. So you have to look at a graph and write an equation for it. So this first one here, so what we do is, again, we start with the y-intercept. I know it's in y equals mx plus b. So what I need to do is I need to figure out, well, what's my y-intercept? And I'm going to plot a point on that y-intercept. Well, my y-intercept's 1, and it's positive 1. Well, I got half of it. I know I got y equals something times x, so I got to figure out what the slope is. So what I need to do is I need to find another perfect point. Like right here, this is not a perfect point. This is going halfway between 0 and 1. But this one right here is a perfect point. So is this one. So is this one. So this one is here too. And the pattern should be consistent no matter what two perfect points you pick. So then I can count my rise and my run from here to here, from any 2 points. It's going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So my slope is 2 over 1, which is 2. If I pick this point and this point, it's going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 over 4 for rise over run is still 2 when I simplify it. So it doesn't matter what 2 points you pick on the line. So here's my final equation. Now number 5 looks a little weird because it's a flat line. So again, let's just follow our same rules though. Okay, so I know it's y equals mx plus b. My y-intercept, well, crosses the y-axis here at negative 5, so that's minus 5. And I need to figure out, well, what's my slope? Okay, well, let's pick another perfect point. Here's a perfect point. So from here to here, my rise, well, it's not going up at all. So the rise is 0, the run is 2. 0 divided by 2 is 0. This has a slope of 0. That means there's no steepness to the line. It's flat. So 0 times x is just 0. So really the equation to this line is just y equals negative 5. Every single point on this line, y is negative 5. Every single one. So if I wanted to graph that, it would be a line forever at negative 5. Because 0 times x is 0. That's why this goes away. Try number 6 on your own. So pause it if you haven't done so. And try it out. Okay, y-intercept's at 4. So I know that's plus 4. And I need to find perfect point. Here's a perfect point. So I went down 1 over 2, down 1. Looks like it continues that. Down 1 over 2. Because it's down, it's going to be negative slope. And it's 1 over 2 because it's rise over run. And that's it. Y equals 1/2 x plus 4. That's it, guys. We're going to get a lot of practice with this, so I hope this video helped. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Things to remember, plot the y-intercept first and use the slope to find the next point. Okay. Independent practice, you don't have any. So your independent practice is to draw your favorite picture of Mr. G. So draw a picture of Mr. G. Doesn't have to be that one. Draw one yourself. That's your independent practice. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Gradius out.